Okay, yes, I've definitely been thinking about it, and whilst I do think some things are better left unsaid, I'm just not about that, not at all.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to episode 6 of the Better Left Unsaid podcast with me, your host, Jessiara Marriott. In today's episode, we are having a conversation that all women need to gather around and listen to. I am with the amazing Gabriella Pearson. I'm going to refer to you as Gabs because I think that's what you prefer. What is it that you stand for? Your story has been truly incredible. When I first came across you, I was like, I need to interview this woman. You are truly amazing. Everything that you share, everything that you've been through, it is so inspirational. So introduce yourself for those who may not know you.
So I'm Gabs. I am 32, nearly 33, but I feel about 82. So I advocate online through about chronic illnesses, specifically endometriosis, adenomyosis, fibromyalgia and PMDD now as well. So it's never just one chronic illness. I started my account about 4 years ago because I just felt very, very lonely, and I felt quite ashamed of being chronically ill, especially I think when there's links if you suffer with anything to do with your bowel or your bladder, incontinence, and I just didn't really feel like I had kind of the in real life support that much, kind of past my family and my husband. So when I started my account, it was really just for me to document how I was feeling, the experiences I was going through with our health system, which have been quite difficult. And I just wanted to find other people that I could discuss these things with. Maybe they'd gone through similar journeys, or share what I'd gone through to kind of give people tips and advice. And then it kind of just transpired into an account where I use humour to get through these horrible situations, connecting in with people, trying to help other people feel confident to advocate for themselves, because that's one thing I really struggled with when I was younger, because I started my periods at 10, which was very, very early, I thought, back then. But I think now the average age is about 7 or 8 in the UK. Really scary. And I struggled so much through primary school. I was bleeding constantly, really heavy, really painful. I was missing loads of school, and I was in primary school at this age as well. And then my mum, by 12, she was like, I'm just going to take you to the doctors. And they did the most generic thing possible and just put me on the pill. So no investigation, no red flags why a 12-year-old was bleeding so heavily on her period. And it's what's scary that it's not an uncommon theme or story. I speak to so many people who have the same experiences. And then kind of all through my teens, I really struggled with more gynecological symptoms, more bowel and stomach problems as well. I continued to miss so much school. I never did PE because I was always bleeding. I was always uncomfortable. And then by year 11, so my final year at school, I got really bad depression, and I ended up leaving halfway through year 11, and I did my GCSEs from home. And I did terribly. I only did 5 GCSEs. I didn't get any support at school. All my friends didn't really understand it. And I remember going to the youth mental health service, CAMS, and the counsellor was like, why are you depressed? What's wrong with you? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm depressed. So I just felt a lot of stigma having the mental health and the menstrual health together. And I was just really confused because I couldn't pinpoint why I felt depressed and why I felt down. And my anxiety was horrific. And then from about 17 to 23, my symptoms really increased. So I was bleeding all of the time. So all the way through my cycle, painful sex during and after. Really bad bloating, nausea, fatigue, pretty much every single symptom of endometriosis experiencing. And I kept going back and forth to the doctors, being told it was IBS, it was gluten intolerances, it was stress, it was just part of being a woman, just get on with it basically. And I went for my first transvaginal ultrasound, which I literally had to fight tooth and nail to get. And it was such a painful experience. I cried the whole way through. I went back to the GP, and her response was, it's inconclusive, you just have to go for another one. And I was only 22 at this point, and I was like, I don't know if I can have another one. So traumatic. And she said to me, well, if you really cared about your health, then you would. So I walked out and gave a few choice words, which because I tell this story a lot, I was like, I don't condone swearing at doctors anyone, but I was really upset because I felt like I was really desperate. I was quite young then. I felt quite vulnerable, and I felt a bit stuck. Like, but what do I do then? Because this can't just be it. So after that, for about 6 months, I was in and out of A&E. I'd had to leave my job by this point. I was just in despair because I didn't know what was going on with my body. I was trying so many things to try and help it. I went dairy-free, gluten-free, which is absolutely miserable. And it didn't make a difference. I was trying all these different things, and it just wasn't getting me anywhere at all. So my mum found a tiny article in a newspaper about endometriosis, and she's like, I think you have this. Let's go and see another GP. So we went back, saw a lovely GP that's still my GP today, and I absolutely adore her. And she was like, let me just have a look at your scan and just kind of get the lay of the land. And she was like, I can see traces of endometriosis on your scan. Like, okay. So she then straight away referred me to gynae, and I saw an endometriosis specialist straight away, because at that point I didn't know the difference either between specialist, general gynecologist. I didn't really know how the medical system worked at that point. So he's still my consultant today, and again, I'm really lucky that I've had that continuity going forward with my GP and my endo consultant. But he just kind of laid it out for me and said there are traces, to kind of get a definitive answer of how severe it is and how widespread we need to do a keyhole surgery, a laparoscopy. And I didn't blink. I was like, yeah, fine, let's do it. Because I was like, at this point, I just need to know. I am someone that I don't like the unknown. It gives me like the absolute ick. I just can't function. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'd never had any surgery before, but I was like, something's not right in my body. And my thought was, if it's impacting my fertility, am I going to be able to have children one day? So he did a laparoscopy, and he found endometriosis on my bowel and my left ovary, which made so much sense. And I felt really validated, but I don't think I understood then the scope of actually how my life would progress with having endometriosis. Because I think when you first get diagnosed, especially like this was almost 10 years ago, so there wasn't kind of the platform it is on social media, people talking about their chronic illnesses, talking about endometriosis. I was like, great, I've had surgery, I'll be okay now. No, I wasn't. So kind of fast forward to now, I've had another 4 surgeries, and they've all been kind of quite bad in terms of I haven't had a lot of relief and a lot of recovery time in between. So I had my second surgery a year after my first one, so it'd grown back really quickly again. And I also got diagnosed with adenomyosis. And I remember I had so many medical professionals say to me, you should just have a baby or have a hysterectomy. And I was like, I'm 24, I don't want to do either. Point in my life where I was really poorly, me and my husband were kind of just getting more serious, and I thought that's not an option for me either way. I think they throw these words around and these kind of options quite loosely, and they don't think about kind of the repercussions of telling, especially people who are a lot younger and I think maybe a bit more vulnerable to it. And I was like, oh shit, do I need to just go and have a baby then? And I said to my husband, I was like, should we have a baby now? And he was like, I don't know, like we're not really in a position, like we need to do like sort out a few things first. But I felt so pressured that having a baby was going to solve everything. But we didn't have a baby because I just was even more poorly. So with my endometriosis, it's then continued to grow back on my bowel and my left ovary, but also spread to my bladder and my womb. So my last 2 surgeries that I've had to go privately. So my first private one was in 2022, and it was just under £5,000. And when I had my second one last year, it was almost 10 grand. So in the space of 2 years, it had doubled. But if I hadn't gone privately, I wouldn't have known that my bowel and my ovary were completely fused to my pelvis. I ended up losing both of them. So it's only through my mum being an absolute angel and paying for those surgeries that I still have those organs. I mean, they're not in very good condition, but they're still in there. But I think for me, kind of having my account has been a massive therapy for myself, but it's also been lovely to connect in with other people. And also I've learned so much and been able to kind of advocate more and kind of ask for more within the healthcare system, because they're not always forthcoming with the options that they can give you in certain departments. So I think once I'd had my account for a while and I'd kind of grown a bit of confidence, I guess, in myself with having chronic illnesses, I met Anna, who I co-founded Menstrual Health Project with. So we met online, we were cyber friends, we just connected through having endometriosis. Anna lives up in North Wales, I'm down in the south, and we just got on so well. And I remember her saying, do you just want to come up? Just bring the husband, bring the dog, we'll just have like a week together and just have fun. And then we've been best friends ever since. And I think for both of us, starting Menstrual Health Project was allowing us to do more on a bigger platform, because we were both individually trying to advocate and help so many people. We'd had hundreds and hundreds of messages of people just in despair, feeling like there's nothing practical helping them now and being put in place. So I think that's why me and Anna wanted to start a charity, was to create transparency, but to create services and tools for people now, and let people know that they're not on their own, because I think that's quite difficult when you are chronically ill. But if I told you that 5 years ago, I would never do a podcast, I'd never speak in public, I would never talk about shit and periods on the internet, and now I do it day in, day out, I think it's just that, like, it's such a weird thing to look back. And I feel like, although I wish I never got endometriosis and other chronic illnesses, the position I'm in, I feel like it's weirdly giving me a lot of confidence. You'll probably understand, like, being chronically ill, you have to learn to advocate for yourself, whether you like it or not. You have to get uncomfortable to get things. But yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. I think I digressed a lot there.
No, you answered a lot of questions for me. Thank you. No, I think your journey, like I said in the beginning, has been truly incredible. And endometriosis is something that a lot of people experience and go through. But even in the last couple of years, I didn't know that much about it. I didn't know that, someone could have periods that were completely life altering. And, I'm lucky enough not to have experienced that and to not experience that. So I can only imagine what it is like. But your body obviously has been through a lot. Like, your body it relies on you to keep it going. And the strength that you have, the strength that your body has to continue is just, I mean, I get it with the chronic fatigue and the pains. Trust me, I feel you on that one. But when it comes to your platform and the menstrual health projects as well, what is your overall goal with that? Like, do you want to change the stigma? Do you want more of these conversations to be open and like not taboo? Or is it more like a personal confidence, a personal growth, personal development type thing?
Oh, I think it's all of those. I think for me, and when we started, we were kind of looking at, I guess, the gaps in services, in support within the community, within kind of the healthcare system, in lots of kind of different little cracks that we want to basically fill. But I think for us as a charity, so we've kind of got 3 pillars that are really important. So education, and that for us starts in school at primary age for all genders, all the way through to university, for us to be able to implement menstrual health education, because in Wales it's not mandatory on the curriculum. In England it is. So you've got that disparity already across the UK where it's very inconsistent. So for us, it's about making sure that people from an appropriate age have the education on menstrual health, knowing what's right and what's not right, knowing your body, because I think endometriosis doesn't have a cure, and a lot of the other gynecological conditions as well linked, that it's about preventative measures, it's about being proactive. And I always say our healthcare system is not proactive at all, it's reactive, unfortunately. And I think if you can give people the best start with the best tools, with the education, that's really important to us, because you either have you have no information, or you have wrong information, or it's very limited. And even on kind of the NHS website, there's not enough information for people. So education is a massive thing for us with the charity, but also workplaces as well, because I experienced really bad experiences in workplaces. So now I can't work because the jobs that I was doing, there just wasn't enough flexibility for me. And I still don't think there's enough measures and adaptations for chronically ill and disabled people in workplaces, and especially hidden disabilities as well, because I think people just think, well, if you don't have something visible, then you're not kind of included in that group when you don't need that support. So workplaces is a huge one. So we go into workplaces and do sessions, and it's great when we go into like male dominated ones. We did DHL, the courier services, last year, and it was like 80% men, and we loved it. Me and Anna were just like staring down all the men, and because they're the ones you really want to be engaged and listening, taking it seriously, because most of the time women are pretty susceptible and are listening, but the men kind of are just like, why am I here doing this? But a guy actually came up to us after, took one of our menstrual health toolkits for under 18s and was like, I'm going to take it home for my son so he can learn. Yes. So education across the board is really important, and putting better practices in schools and in workplaces. But for us, a huge kind of area is mental health as well, because like I say before, like for me, the stigma when you do anything like menstrual health with mental health together, it's just like people just can't handle it. And I still think now it's such a stigma. Like we don't have enough services in place for people either. There's just not enough support. And I think as someone, I've always struggled with my mental health, and then recently being diagnosed with PMDD, it's been really, really difficult. And I'm lucky that I have a really good GP who's really active and has referred me for this, referred me here, and has diagnosed me with PMDD. It was a really quick process for me. But I know so many people struggle to get a diagnosis with PMDD. And I think what we want to do as a charity is try and put these practical services in for people that are just simple things as well. They're not overcomplicated. That's the brain fog there kicking in. It always happens. My brain knows the word, but my mouth doesn't. Or I'm like, I say to my husband, I'm like, I need to get that thing in the bedroom. What's it called? And he's like, I don't know. You should know because I can't think about it in my brain. But I think for us as a charity, it's really important that the community and the service users essentially are giving feedback of what they want as well. But I think for me and Anna, because we built quite a good place within the endometriosis community of being honest and quite real and relatable, when we started the charity, it felt quite like easy in the respect of we felt like the community would receive it well. It's not easy starting a charity. I don't know why we're delusional. Not for the faint-hearted. It's definitely doubly difficult when you're chronically ill trying to run a charity. But for us, we just have so many things that we want to do and kind of reach people. And I think one thing as a charity that charities are saying they're really inclusive and they want everyone to be involved, but I think it's about, you can say those things, but actually putting it in place is more important. So that's one big thing for us as a charity, is kind of including all communities, but also the whole of the UK, because I sometimes think like areas of the UK just get forgotten. Like Wales gets forgotten a lot, Scotland, Ireland. So for us, we're trying to figure out how we can make sure everyone is included and is supported. But there are loads of things, but I can't say because they're top secret. And I am a bit of a blabbermouth and tell me off to say them. But yeah, I think for us, the main thing is the education. Bringing communities together is a huge thing as well. And just making people feel confident to advocate and knowing that they can. Because a lot of people think, oh, like I'm just being a pest. No, be a pest. Like, it's your health. And I always say this, that you're not chasing up about like a fridge that you've ordered. Like, this is your health. Like, you get one health. Like, yes, like some people's health is not that great, but I'm like, I don't want it to get worse. I can help it, and I am going to ask for these things. I will ask again. I will complain if I have to. I will do what I need to do to get it. It is a draining process and it can take it out of you. And when you're already chronically ill, it's so difficult. But I will always go to the ends of the earth for my health, because I know I have to, and other people can support you with it, but you have to do it for yourself. And it does, like, it takes time and confidence. And people say like, oh, you're really good at advocating. I'm like, it took me fucking years. I didn't wake up one day at like 12 and go, right, I'm back and tell that GP I don't want to be on the pill anymore. It took me a long time, and I used to be, and I still am, a massive people pleaser, huge people pleaser. And I'm trying to get better at it. but when I was younger, I was massively. And I think it's also, I'm trying to get diagnosed with ADHD. So I'm going back through and looking at like basically taking my life apart and working out at these points in my life, these things happened and why I felt that way. And in a way, it's quite interesting, but I'm like, oh my Jesus Christ, like, did this actually all happen? And this is how like I've been. So I think now I'm in my 30s, I'm trying to put myself first with my health, so physically and mentally, but also put boundaries in, because I'm not very good at that either. I will say yes to absolutely everything because I just want people to think, oh, she's really reliable, like she can do everything. And I don't know if you feel like that, being chronically ill, you feel like you have to overachieve. You have to do 10 times more. So on the days where you're not feeling great, people could be like, oh, well, that's fine because on these days, like, you know, she can do loads. And really hard finding that balance. And with the charity, it's the same thing. And sometimes I do, like, we do talks and do panels and podcasts or whatever, and afterwards I'm like, God, like, because I'll say something about my journey and people are like, oh, that's awful, and I'm like, oh yeah, it is actually. But I don't know why, because I feel like you get so good at just chugging along and just putting it in a box. And I'm very much like, I put it in a box and I don't think about it until something happens, triggers me off. Like I was saying to you about, I had a really terrible response from a department about not giving me a trial for something I needed, and that completely spiraled me. But I just try and just get on with my life because I can't change a lot of it. It's really hard, and I'm really good at giving advice and telling people, like, you know, pace yourself, have boundaries, do these things for you, and I don't do it for myself. Being a Virgo, I'm just going to blame it on the
I can heavily see myself in you, and I think, I mean, I'm 23, I'm 24 this year, so I do feel like a baby. I do feel like a baby when it comes to all of this. Like I feel like I'm the complete opposite to you in terms of I am not there, and I think I've learned this in the last couple of weeks with work myself. I'm not there with the speaking up for myself and learning my boundaries. Like, I will hear the signs, my body will tell me the signs that something is about to happen, Jess. Like, something here will happen, and then I'll have a migraine, and then my toes will start tingling, and then my head hurts, my heart hurts. And I will just be like, that's fine, like, we're going to be okay. And then it all just smacks me in the face. And I'm like, well, duh. Obviously, that was going to happen because you didn't help yourself. But back to the charity, you would think that these things would be more accessible and be more common knowledge and be openly spoken about. Like, that's why I have this podcast, so people like you and us can come together and speak about these things in a way where it's not taboo, because it shouldn't be taboo. This is our everyday lives. This is something we all go through, and unfortunately a lot of us go through it behind closed doors. So I am so happy to have your charity and so many others as a stepping stone for women to come to feel heard and to feel seen as well, because it shouldn't be a thing where it's like they don't want to talk about it, or they feel like they should just push through because of X, Y, and Z and external factors. But I think going back to the advocating, I really want to highlight that. Like I said, with me, I'm still at the point where I'm just like you. I'll be like, advocate for yourself, speak up for yourself, like, don't take no for an answer. And then behind closed doors, doctor will say, yeah, nothing's wrong. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'll wait for something else to happen and for more symptoms to happen. And then I'll be like, yeah, I probably should have said something how many weeks ago. What is one piece of advice that you would really push to people watching and listening, specifically people who have hidden illnesses, hidden disabilities, chronic illnesses, where symptoms are building up and they see the signs like you did, until one day, like your mom saw in the newspaper, endometriosis, and then you go and get diagnosed? What is something that you would say to those who are like, I think I may have this, or all the signs are pointing to this, but I'm not sure, I don't want to go and be told that I'm wrong or be gaslit? What is something you'd say to them?
I would say, this is probably going to be a little bit controversial, is it's okay to make a complaint if you're not happy with primary care, secondary care specialists. You can ask to see other doctors. I think what's really important is to figure out those areas. So, like, if you're worried about going, take somebody with you. If you're worried about if they're going to kind of question your health, I would write down as much as possible. I would also kind of look at guidelines for certain things, and I'd kind of put together an idea of what I want to get out of the appointment. And I would go in with that and say to the doctor, like, I'm having these symptoms, this is what I want to do, and this is kind of the outcome I want. And one of my friends called Tina, she runs endo flow retreats, she told us a really good tip that if a doctor refuses to do something, ask them to put it on your notes, and they then don't want to put it down in writing, then they'll just refer you for it. But I would say that, like I said, complaining is okay, because essentially if the person that is your direct contact isn't helping you, then you need somebody else to step in. It's not nice having to do it, but I would just then look for the chief exec of the care board, who kind of runs the hospital. To me, I think it's so important, because I think people are afraid to question, and you can have a second opinion, you can have a third opinion if you're not happy. But I would just say that you always know your body best. I don't care what any doctor says. Like, if you feel something's not right, whenever I've not felt right, I've always been on the mark. I've always trusted that. And sometimes you might feel like you're going insane, probably a lot of the time. You're always right. And I think it's really difficult with the healthcare system. But one thing I would say as well is connecting with people online, because there's a lot of things that I didn't know I could access, but I only knew to ask for it through other people telling me with their journeys. So I would say that I personally don't like support groups. That's just my personal preference. I think they can sometimes breed a lot of anxiety, and a lot of negativity sometimes. And I think they end up doing more harm than good. So I would say steer away from support groups, potentially, but each their own. But go for people, have a look at people on Instagram and TikTok. But just be very careful. I would say, like, look for people that you know are kind of giving the right information. Because I've learned so much through other people in the community, and I know that I've told people in the community about kind of different services, different referrals and stuff. So there's so many different layers, I think, of trying to get to the doctor than trying to figure out what's going wrong with you. But I would say keep pushing. I know it can be really stressful and draining. But I would also say as well that you can record. You can say to your doctor, you can say in the appointment, I'm going to record this. They can't refuse you either. I find that helpful, because when I'm in an appointment, I feel like my brain is so focused on like getting out what I need to say that I sometimes can't absorb what the doctor's saying to me. But I would definitely say if you don't feel comfortable going on your own, take somebody with you if you can. So there's so many different things, because it's not straightforward at all to go to the doctors and trying to get diagnosed with things. So I just find it's really difficult. I find that some medical professionals just don't make it very easy. And that could be for a number of reasons. If they have lack of knowledge, they don't have humility, that they will say, I can't actually help you, let me refer you on. But I'd also say look at things like NICE guidelines, which are the guidance that the NHS have to work to, and see what your rights are and what you're entitled to as well. So it's a lot of work, but it does pay off, definitely.
The mental health aspect, like you said, mental and physical. I mean, I've learned with my condition, it is definitely joint. And when your mental's not okay, your physical can be worse. And when your physical's not okay, your mental is off. So how have you found it navigating, having those days where you find yourself trying to manage the both of trying to stay mentally okay and mentally sane and not find yourself spiraling, but then your physical is bad and all you want to do is rest, but then you want to stay productive and stay happy and, show up for the people that you care about, because it's hard. Like trying to do the both, I've learned, is I can either do the one or the other. Like my physical will be bad and then I need to be positive, or my mental will be bad and my physical, like I'm still trying to overwork myself and overdo it, and then vice versa, and the next day it flips. So how have you found that balance? What are some things that you do to help balance your mental health as well as keeping your physical health not as bad as it could get?
That's a very good question. I am like a self-proclaimed soggy Sally, and a bit I won't lie. But I think for me, I'm learning more to communicate with the ones that I tell them when I'm struggling. I think that's a big thing that's really helped me, because I will get really in my own head, and just my head is not a fun place to be if I just internalize it. So for me, it's talking to my husband or talking to Anna, because it's really nice. Obviously, it's not nice Anna's chronically ill as well, but it's nice having a best friend who just completely gets it, because my husband's incredible, but he will never fully understand what it's like to be chronically ill and to kind of have all that rigmarole and all the things we go through. So Anna's a huge support for me, and she's like my unpaid therapist and vice versa. Fantastic. And it's just so nice. It's just easy, and I can just ring her and I could say the most kind of ridiculous, crazy things that I'm feeling because of being chronically ill and the mental element, and she's just like, yeah, I totally get it. So I think for me that's a big thing, is having that validation that people are listening and people can understand. Well, I think for me, a huge therapy is having my social media. I think for me, a big outlet for being able to kind of vent and share how I'm feeling and share my experiences when I'm having a really bad day. But equally, sometimes I'm just like, I just need to lie in bed on my own. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to watch something that I love, like a comfort program. And like, I used to really beat myself up for having days like that and think, oh my God, I'm lazy, I'm useless, all these things that you put on yourself. But I know now, like, rest is so productive, and sometimes I just need to rot to be able to then get on with things the next day. But I think for me as well, like, having the charity is a massive fuel for me. It's taking all of my sadness, my upset, my frustration. Every time that I'm having a really bad mental health day, I just work, I just do stuff, because I find I have to keep my mind busy, because I do suffer really badly with anxiety. I'm an overthinker. It's another Virgo trait as well, so I'm going to blame the star sign again. But I think just keeping my mind busy, and I always say to people, like, find something that you can do, even if it's something you can do in bed, even if it's just a hobby. It doesn't have to be what other people are doing as well. I think sometimes people compare what they're doing to others, and if they can't do the same thing that makes them feel better, I think that's a big thing within the community. There's a lot of comparison, in a sense, where people feel bad or guilty if they can't do what others are doing to the same element. And I always say, like, you could literally find any hobby that you like doing, whether it's like colouring or web design, if you want to do a course. Do you know what I mean? Anything that I'm busy. So I think that's really important for me, because if I'm not mentally stimulated, I'm going to spiral. I'm just a person. I have to be on the go all the time, and I struggle when I can't, if my body is completely fucked and I've got.
Oh, I completely relate to
I
that.
really struggle with mobility and like my sciatic pain on my left side, because all my endometriosis has been on my left side, and it's just, my left side is completely ruined. So when I struggle, like if I can't walk, if I can't put weight, I've just got to sit in bed.
Do you use any aids?
Yeah, so I've got a stick and I've got crutches as well. I'm thinking about getting a walker, because you know when you're like trying to like shuffle, it's really
I was
difficult.
gonna say, I recently got myself. I didn't want to get one, but I
Yeah,
got one, and it's massive help. So I definitely think you'd
yeah,
benefit from that.
yeah. I love mine. I've got a leopard print one, because I was like, if I'm gonna have one, I'm gonna.
I literally got an Amazon delivery with like some vinyl, and I'm gonna do like a DIY with mine.
I struggle more when mentally I feel okay, but physically I can't do anything.
Yeah.
So then, like, I have a bed desk, so I just put my laptop on, or I do something on my iPad. Like, I love this game on my iPad. It's literally just like sorting like different items together. But for me, I think because I'm trying to get diagnosed with ADHD as well, I have to be stimulated at the right level. I'm either like have no stimulation at all, or I'm so overstimulated it's actually crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think mentally it's a combination of things for me. Definitely keeping busy. But I'm such a homebody as well, so I don't find it as hard sometimes being at home, because I loved lockdown. I know that's really controversial. People are going to be like, what? But I am very much like, I'm the happiest just on the sofa with my husband, with my dogs, watching a film, like content. Like, I love going out, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing nicer coming home and just relaxing. So yeah, I think for me it's that I've really tried to work on communicating with the people around me when I'm not feeling great, because I used to internalize it, and I think that then really impacts not just yourself but people around you. But I do still struggle now. Like, I've been diagnosed with endometriosis for nearly 9 years, and I still feel like I'm trying to learn and navigate, because then I got diagnosed with adenomyosis, then fibromyalgia, and now PMDD, and struggling with mobility and widespread pain. So it's always kind of, I start getting the hang of things, bam, it's like my bus. So I think for people, it's just not being too hard on yourself, because I get messages from people like, I haven't been able to do anything today. And I'm like, if you've been able to open your eyes, like, that's good enough for me.
Right.
That is good enough. Like, there's days where like I don't wash for days, or I can't get out. I don't change my pants for a few days. I know people are going to be like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
You're literally in fight or flight. You just do what you can do, and that just has to be good enough. And I think I'm trying to lean into that and not be hard on myself. Like, if I haven't done a load of washing, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's okay. And I still carry a lot of guilt, I think, especially because I can't work and my husband does work, and I feel bad that, like, if he's working all day and I can't do lots of housework, I can't do lots of things around the house because it's painful, it's tiring, or I just can't physically do it. I think you feel bad and you carry that, and it's not them projecting it on you, you're projecting it on yourself. And I know my husband doesn't think or feel any of these things, but I'm like, oh my God, does he feel like that? Knowing he doesn't, but it's when you get in that self-sabotage mode, it's really difficult.
The thing of the overstimulation and then doing nothing, oh my gosh, it's like, with my kids, I love them to pieces. My children, my heart, I love them. But I need to preface, it will be like, I can hear the washing machine going, I can hear the fridge humming, my son will be playing with a toy, my daughter will be asking me a question, my partner will be trying to talk to me, I'll be doing something on my laptop, and it's like everything, and I'm just like, my mind is buzzing.
Yeah.
So then that happens, and then when I'm doing nothing, it's weird, because when I'm sat in silence, I can't sit in silence, oh my God, I'll lose my mind. So the thing of needing to do something all the time, I completely relate. But then again, it's like, when you do something all the time, even if it isn't, well, I don't know if you can relate, but I know even if it isn't something as like drastic as like a food shop or like laundry, even if you're washing up the dishes, you're picking up a few clothes, I will instantly feel that fatigue, that tiredness, the pain, like as soon as. And that's where I find my current struggle, is that balance between, okay, I'm not doing that much, but my body wants me to do nothing and just sit there all day long. So that's the battle that I go between. But for those out there who are listening to this and thinking, I really need to start helping myself, like, what is something that I can do to make my life a little bit easier? Would you say that is seeking a charity like yours for advice and for external support, and also tapping into the people's support system as well? But for people like me, I don't like to ask for help. Like, if I'm struggling, I will struggle.
Like, I will do this. And it's just, there's so many factors. I think being chronically ill, being a woman, I think society has told us, like, these are the roles, this is what you should be doing to be like a woman. And it's down to, like, if you don't have children, you are not a woman. It's all these kind of pressures that get put on us, and I think it's really difficult for people. I think what happens is when people give advice, they're like, just do this, but it's building how to build up to doing it. And it's little things, I think. You start with, like, I really for help as well. I absolutely hate it. I remember, like, when I had one of my surgeries, like 2 days post-op, I was like trying to do, like, lift a washing basket, and my husband's like, what are you being like? I will do that. But I'm just like, oh, okay. I'm not a good patient though. I'm terrible. I'm not good at all. But I think it's just figuring out for people, like, what in your life you feel like is difficult to manage. And communication is really, really important. But I think definitely reaching out to organisations. And, like, for me and Anna, because we're leading a charity, we're like patients, so we have that experience, which I think is really important to us. So we get so many people messaging us, asking for advice, kind of signposting and stuff, and we always do. And we like to connect in with other organisations as well, because we're very much like, if it's not something we can do or we can help with, we have a service, there's this charity. And I think that's really important. But I think there's a lot of kind of charities and services that people don't know about, they're not that aware of. So for me and Anna, we want to kind of ensure that we're really visible for people to contact, and how can we kind of keep evolving and keep giving people what they want. And I think for us, having the resources which are free is really, really important, because for me, I think education, information should always be free and accessible for people. Because sometimes you do find, especially kind of within the chronic illness and health space, that sometimes information that should be free is maybe being charged for. And I don't like that. That annoys me. Because I don't think you should profit people's kind of desperation to have that information. And I feel like as organizations or even individuals, we're creating information that should already be available on the health service. So I definitely think kind of looking into different organizations. So like now I've been diagnosed with PMDD, and I get people messaging me and they're asking me things. If I can't answer it because I don't have the most extensive knowledge about it, I signpost them. There's an amazing charity called the PMDD Project, and they've got loads of great information. So I'm all for like information, signposting people, and just giving people a bit of confidence and telling them just to be kind to themselves. Like I get people messaging me all the time, I haven't done this, or and I'm like, it's totally fine. Like I think you just gotta be kinder to yourself. I think that's a big management tip, is just being kinder, and whatever you've done in a day just has to be enough. Even like just waking up, that just has to be okay. And I think sometimes with social media, when people only show like the good bits, and like they're in the gym or they're doing this and they're not showing anything else, other people are like, well, I can't do that. They start kind of comparing, and comparison is the thief of joy, that they say. So I'm very much like, I just follow people that I enjoy seeing their content, that I find relatable. I'm not that fussed about like aesthetically pleasing stuff all the time, because life is just bloody chaotic. I follow people that make me feel good and make me feel like, oh, I love following them. Like, yes to that. But yeah, I think it's about figuring out what your own kind of management things that you need, and just not comparing. I think that is really, really important. But yeah, I definitely think for myself it's better communication, and I'm getting there. But there are still times where I don't follow any of these things, and I just crumble, and I just have to cry, like I was saying to you, that I just spent the morning crying because I had a really shit experience with the healthcare system. And I have a really weird thing. I hate crying in front of people. I'm a very emotional person, but when it comes to cry, I don't like crying in front of even my husband. I get a bit funny with, not like, I know he doesn't care if I'm crying, in the sense like he's not going to be like, you need to stop crying. But I'm one of those people, like, I don't want to cry in front of other people because I don't want them to then feel upset or stressed.
Right.
It's a bit of a people pleasing thing where I don't want to show my emotions. If I'm upset, or even if I'm in a lot of pain, I mask a lot of it, and then you kind of get into the habit of that. And I think a lot of chronically ill people do that in situations where, if it's work or school or friends or family, if people don't understand, you mask it. And I think I'm trying to rewire my brain, because I've masked for so long. And then when you add ADHD in, like, that is just that's masking, doesn't it? But there's a lot of links between PMDD and ADHD, and when you're having that PMDD period, that the ADHD then is completely intensified. But it's so weird, because my husband's got ADHD, but men with ADHD is so different. It's mental. But he's got like, well, the good ADHD get shit done, where I feel like it's the mental paralysis. I could literally stare at like a pile of clothes, but I can't put them away, and I'll start tidying, but I'll have to make like 20 piles of different things across like 3 rooms. And then I get fed up, so I just shove it all in a bag, or like shove it all in the corner. And I've done that since I was a child. And my mum, I used to have a tiny bedroom, like box room, and I could never tidy it. And my mum was always like, you're so like lazy and like messy, why won't you just tidy it? And I would literally go into meltdown mode, because I could just not tidy this bloody room. And like at school, I really struggled with, I just never found it very like challenging at school what I was doing. when I was younger, I would start a club and I'd tell my mum, well, I've learned how to do it now, I don't need to do it. So like all these things you think about, like when you're an adult, it's crazy, and the kind of the links with it. But yeah, I think it's difficult because sometimes like all these conditions, they just work against each other. So I would love to have a routine, but I know I can't do a routine. And then if I put a routine in place, that's just going to stress me more because I know I'm not going to follow it. Like when people food, I can't have food prep because I don't want to eat the same food every day. I need to be a mood eater. That's what my friend called it. Like, I can't food prep, I just mood eat. And I was like, it's like, it's crazy. But I think what's a really kind of empowering thing is just being honest with yourself about your capability and saying like that is okay to not do those things or do it in a different way or to do it slower. Like there's certain things that I am getting better at. So like sometimes when I do meetings, if there's a lot of people, I'll say to Anna, like, would you mind doing it? I don't know about you, but when you go on like a Zoom meeting when there's loads of people, it's so stressful because there'll be like one person like doesn't know how to turn their microphone on, hasn't done this, and I find it stressful when everyone's trying to like speak at the same time, and it just sends me over the edge. And there's just certain trying to be more adaptable with myself with. And I say to people, like, if I've taken ages to go back to an email because I'm really bad at replying, I just say, like, I'm trying to get diagnosed with ADHD and just being upfront about it. So that I think that's a management thing as well, is just being honest with other people as well and saying, like, this is what I can do. If I do this, it's because of this. And just giving yourself a bit of leeway because we're in a world where there's so many different types of conditions, disabilities. Everyone is going through something that maybe they don't talk about. So it's just about being really kind to yourself and saying, like, this is what I'm going to do and that's okay.
Yeah, one thing I've started to tell myself when I get into the mindset of like, oh, I'm not doing enough or I should be doing X, Y, and Z, is you're doing the best you can with the resources that you have. And like you said, if that means just waking up and not even getting dressed, but you've gotten out of bed, you've made it downstairs, even if you've sat up in the bed, you've done something. So you are doing the best you can with the resources that you have. Something I saw on TikTok that I'm literally about to do after this is, I forgot what it's called, but it's basically a chart of your condition. So in the first section of the chart, you write your trigger or your symptom. So that could be a migraine. The next thing is a symptom. So like how do you feel that coming on? So with the migraine, do you get like pain in the back of your neck, or can you feel it coming on, or do you have like pins and needles? And then in the next bit, you write down your coping mechanism. So is that a migraine relief cap, or is that your medication? Is that water? And I'm going to do that for all of my symptoms. It's going to be a bloody booklet, but I'm going to do it and I'm sending it out to everyone.
Important to do that.
Yeah.
Is working things out. So like for me as well, I know if I've got to go anywhere, like charity, I'll put a rest day either side. And so I don't, and I really regret it. And I think for me and Anna, we just really look at our diary, see what we have going on when, and make sure we put the rest days in and we don't overload. But when we started the charity, we would literally say yes to everything. We'd cram so many meetings in, but then we'd end up really poorly, having to reschedule, not being able to do things. So we're trying to pace better. That's the word of the year for me and Anna, is pace. Hard word though. And I think when you start something like a charity business, you're trying to like grow something, you feel like you have to say yes to everything, because you feel like you don't want to miss out on opportunities. And I think for us, like when we started, we didn't really have any expectations. Like we had a few ideas of what we wanted to achieve, and it's just completely like, it's just been mental in like the best way. I won't lie. Like me and Anna were like putting together some data, like looking at some stuff for the charity, and we had to like pull like all these different things that we've done, and I was like, oh my god, we've done 2 years, Jesus Christ. Like some of the stuff I was like, oh yeah, we did that, didn't we? Because I think me and Anna are like so poorly whilst we're doing these things. Like we did I'm laughing because it's honestly like, it's crazy when you're chronically ill, the shit you just like pull your big girl pants on get on and do is mental. But we went and did a pitch for a cluster of schools in North Wales about a menstrual health education pilot, and we were so ill, like so ill. But it seems like like a day after, we were on the train down to London to go to Parliament, both of us like trying not to throw up on the train, taking anti-sickness, both just sitting opposite, oh my God. But obviously not a great thing if people are listening, that you shouldn't overdo it like that. Sometimes me and Anna are like, if I'm going to be ill anyway, I'd rather be ill doing something.
Genuinely, yeah, I'm the same. Oh no, I love that so much. I think I really do commend your, not just, your charity, but your confidence. Like, you carry yourself in a way that I aspire to get to. Like, I'm nearly there, it's okay. But your confidence truly is it's so inspirational and aspirational for younger people as well, because like we're getting to the point where we're growing up, we're becoming big girls, it's time to put our big girl pants on, start talking up for ourselves, and not learning to just let things slide and let doctors and healthcare professionals tell us one thing when, like you said, you know your body best. So it's about, reacting with that and coming back with, actually, no, I did my research, or actually, no, I have a 30-day journal that says I basically have this condition. But it's truly amazing what you do. I will leave all of your resources and everything that you do and Anna do down below. Is there anything you want to end with? Anything you want to tell us? Any sneak peeks, any projects?
Oh, I would just say, if anyone's kind of struggling with menstrual health, we do our under 18s toolkit, but we've also just brought out an over 18s toolkit. So kind of the difference with them is that the under 18s is kind of more age appropriate. So it's things like figuring out if your period's normal, period products, talking to a doctor kind of as a younger person, tracking your periods. There's a tracker in the back. And then it's got a glossary of all of kind of medical words, because that's one thing, like I was always like, womb, uterus, and thing when I was younger, like why does it have to have different words, like bowel, colon, like all these different words for stuff? So we have a glossary in that. But the over 18s is more kind of an add-on. So it's got like tips for cervical screening, it's got gynae cancers, pelvic floor dysfunction, vulvodynia, like all of these things that you don't know about until you actually experience. And again, there's just never enough comprehensive information available. So if anyone wants the guides, they're available on our website, but we can also send hard copies as well. But I'll just say that just whatever happens in your life with your health, just please remember, like, you're not going crazy, and that it's valid however you're feeling. And I think a lot of the time you can be invalidated, whether that's kind of people closer to you that don't understand or medical professionals. So I would just say, like, always believe in yourself. I know it sounds a bit cheesy and a bit like, always believe in yourself, but I would just say, like, develop that confidence that you know yourself the best and you know your body, and just don't be afraid, just go for it. Because I'm just like, you just need to advocate, and it's difficult, and like it does take time, but it's totally worth it. But I understand, like when I was younger, like when I was your age, that was when I was trying to get diagnosed, and I was not confident at all, which a lot of people were like, I can't see that. So it's crap being chronically ill, but I feel like in a way it makes your life feel really miserable and shit, but in a lot of ways you develop a lot of resilience skills as well, where I never thought I would do public speaking. But I think once you've been chronically ill, nothing else feels that scary. So if anyone's kind of been diagnosed with something and they're kind of worrying about how their life looks, yes, there's a lot of challenges, but for me, I try to find the things that I can channel and harness and actually use for better and for good. So I'd say maybe like try doing that.
That's perfect. Thank you so much for your wise words, and I'll make sure to leave all the information about the Mental Health Project and Gabs down below. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.